This is the Modern Mastery Unleashed podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Modern Self-Mastery Unleashed podcast. So today I'm doing a solo session because Natalia's not very well at all, bronchitis. So it's a solo session, so it's just me and you having an informal chat today about the importance of building ironclad self-discipline, which has been a core fundamental principle, value, virtue of mine for quite some time, decades even. So it was really born out of the gym for me. So it's been 30 years of consistent discipline. So I've learned an awful lot about myself in that process for sure. But certainly something that's always rang true for me is that when you do what is hard, life becomes easy. And when you do what is easy, life becomes hard. It's about choosing your hard because difficult circumstances are on the way. So I think when you choose to put yourself in uncomfortable positions, if you seek discomfort, seek challenge that inspires you, then you're more adept to changing and adapting to a challenging, stressful environment. So choosing your hard is brutally honest because typically the magic that we're seeking is in the work that we're avoiding. So we need enough courage to start, and then we need the discipline and consistency to maintain. Because the truth is, we just need enough discipline to form a habit. And then the trick is that you shouldn't need massive amounts of self-discipline as you move through the process, because if you need massive amounts of self-discipline, it might be something you just absolutely hate doing that's not in alignment with you and your values. So we lean on the words blisscipline. So where do you find you have good results and what do you enjoy? And then lean towards that because it's a really important function. But it does separate us from our current self to the best version of us. The gap is fear and laziness in my own personal experience. So we do need enough discipline just to push ourselves enough to build the habits, the routines, the rituals to become our best self. And I think we're all searching for those tools to leave all of our potential out on the field of play whilst we're alive. Because as Jim Rohn said, discipline weighs ounces and regrets weigh tons. And I think that's been true for me and for many people that I've worked with, friends of mine, high performers that I've coached. So self-discipline is so important because it's actually the strongest form of self-love and self-care. It's not all about doing hard things all the time and being hard on yourself. I think it's 80-20, okay? 80% of the time we should be thinking about all the good things we've done, building strategic confidence at the end of our day. So we measure backwards about 3 things each day that have gone really well for us. So we're always measuring backwards about how far we've come. Because I think if we measure ourselves towards the horizon all the time, we're always going to feel like we've never done enough, okay? And I'm certainly one of the best at doing that, and I have been in the past anyway. So it's been quite an experience for me, the self-improvement, personal development, because what I want for myself is what I want for everybody else. I want to extract every bit of my potential whilst I'm alive and pass it back to other people. That's why I'm on earth, I believe. So strongest form of self-love is self-discipline. And it's ignoring something that you want now over what you want most, a better tomorrow, a better future. So discipline for me reveals the level of commitment that you have to the life you say you want. So if you think about discipline as commitment, as turning pro, as to not half-arsing the effort, but actually committing. So when I think about my own life, when I've fully committed to an endeavour, I haven't failed. But when I dabble, and I've done a lot of dabbling, so I've got first-hand experience of this, it doesn't go well. And then you build up a bank of evidence that you don't do what you say you're going to do. And then when you go into the next venture, in the back of your mind, you're saying, I know I'm not going to follow through. So although we want to take on new challenges, we want to start that side hustle, we want to lose 10 pounds of fat, we want to build muscle, we want more energy, more health, wealth, happiness in our lives, in the back of our mind, we might have years worth of evidence that we don't ever follow through. We don't ever do what we say we're going to do. And so we need to build that evidence, because the future you is depending on the current you to keep the promises you made to yourself yesterday. So keeping the promises you made to yourself will build unstoppable confidence and unshakable self-discipline. We just need enough discipline to become a habit, a formation of a ritual that you perform, and then it's just who you are. So people ask me all the time, Paul, how come you're so motivated all the time? Well, I'm not motivated. It's just become who I am. So I don't think about it. So the brain is always trying to chunk it down so it doesn't have to think, because that's expending too much energy. And it's an energy conservation machine, is the brain. So that's why we always chunk down habits, so that we don't think about it. So that's why most of us are on autopilot most of the day, because it's a subconscious program that's running. So we just want to set those up, subconscious programs, in our favor. So first we have to become aware of what's hurting us. So what steals your discipline? Is it too much scrolling? Is it looking at your phone first thing in the morning? That used to be an absolute killer for me. So if I looked at my phone first thing in the morning, I'd be drawn straight into comparison. I'd never feel good enough, want to be somewhere else. And that really stole my discipline of what I needed to get done to move me forward to where I wanted to be. So I'd strongly advise to not look at your phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. And it can be the hardest thing to do. But charge your phone elsewhere. Get an alarm clock, because stillness is also the key. So in stillness, we can hear ourselves and we find truth. But other than that, not looking at my phone has been one of the best habits that I've ever formed, because how you start your day is typically how your day goes. So if you start stressed out, anxious, worried, envious, then you tend to be like that all day. So if you can start with a more peaceful, centered, intentional way of being as how you want to show up in the world, how you want to present yourself, how you want to serve that day, the energy you want to bring, the emotions you want to feel, and intentionally act like the person you want to become, you're going to have a much better day. But just understand what's hurting you. So we need awareness, first of all, of what it is. So if it's too much scrolling on social media, or just watching too much Netflix, going to bed too late, hitting snooze all the time, these are just things that are really going to hurt your progress moving forward. So we really need to start at the beginning. So it's hard to be disciplined if you don't know what you're being disciplined for. I've found out in my life. So you've got to know what you want. You need awareness of where you are and what's hurting you right now, which we all know. If we actually lean in and do the warrior's work, we all know what those things are. Understand what they are, but now we need to know what you want, what you truly want, not what you think you want, or what it might be expected of you to want from the people around you, but what do you really want? And if you don't know the answer to that, understand what you don't want. what's wrong in your world, what don't you like, what causes strong emotion. And then the opposite of that is probably what you want, okay? And who do you wish to become? How do you want to be remembered? Because we're all leaving a legacy without permission to the young ones around us, you know, children, my two nieces around us a lot, and they pick up behavior really quick. It's never taught its core. So they pick it up. So my niece Posey, when she comes round, she'll get on the exercise bike and she'll pick up a book because that's what she sees me do. So they really do pick these things up. So it's quite a fascinating experience. And we all adapt behavior of the people around us. So just know what you want and align that with your values. So how do you want to live? How do you want to live? So, you know, do you do what you enjoy doing? If family is a very high value of yours and you're never spending time with the family, you're going to have a miserable existence. Or if health and fitness is very high for you and you're never getting a chance to do it and you're feeling out of shape, it's going to cause you a lot of pain. So align what you want with your highest values and sprinkle that stardust into your days and weeks, and you'll have a fantastic life. So we've got to reverse engineer what we want our life to look like and put some of that into our days. So we want this vision to pull us, to compel us to move, and then find the ways that you enjoy the most to do it, because what you enjoy, you're going to stick to. And it might be difficult because everything's hard before it becomes easy, because it has to become a habit, and who you become has to become part of your identity. So you've got to shift identity, okay? So I was at the gym earlier today, and it was the busiest I've ever seen my local gym, ever. Couldn't get on any equipment, couldn't get in the car park. It was an absolute nightmare. And the intention is right, because people feel like they should lose weight, they should eat better. And again, it's about keeping promises that we make to ourselves, right? But I know come February, March, those 30% influx of additional members will typically fall away. That's the pattern. But that's because it's a should and not a must. When you align it with values, that one of my highest values for me is my health and fitness and feeling healthy and strong. So I'm able to play with my nieces and not feel like I can't do it anymore. I never want to feel that way. So I want to be the strongest, healthiest person in my family. So I want to set an example. So I want to lead by example, which I do. It's a high value for me, for leading by example. It's leadership, essentially. And we're all leaders, one way or another. You know, you're always being watched, okay? But align it with your values. What do you want? What are your values? Align it with that. And then let go of that outcome and just focus on the fundamentals, the handful of fundamentals that actually move the needle, and prioritize those. Get them in the diary. What gets in the diary gets done. What gets scheduled gets done. Okay? If you leave it up to chance, you're going to procrastinate and it's just not going to happen. But that's a whole nother episode, is procrastination, which is avoiding, I put my teeth back in, that's avoiding a negative emotion, okay? So we want to schedule it and have a detailed plan of what we're going to do in that time. So don't leave it vague, because the mind can't cope with that. So if you want to build out a landing page for your side hustle, let's say, or you're going to work out, you've got to know when you're doing something and what you're going to be doing, and put that in your time block, okay? And that'll reduce all the friction that you have, okay? And your mind will throw all sorts at you as to why you shouldn't do it. You're tired, do it at the week. You can do it next week. We'll start on Monday, all that stuff to try and keep you small, okay? So we're going to say thank you very much and let that go with grace. We're going to let that energy go and come back to, okay, what do I really want? And is this a good idea? Am I going to win or learn? Yes. Okay, well, let's do it. So you've got to get leverage over yourself, okay? Make those actions a priority. The actions that move the needle, prioritize those actions to when you have the most energy in your day. Because if you try and do something important and challenging when you're absolutely exhausted, I know from experience that is a really arduous process, okay? But once you understand what you want, you align it with your values, and you understand what's hurting you, so you can start putting safeguards in place. So if you're scrolling too much, if you're on social media too much as a coping mechanism, then you can put an app limit on your phone for 25 minutes or 30 minutes a day. So you're intentional when you go on that. You know, if you use it for business, just be intentional with your time, intentional with your energy, intentional with your actions. So if you live intentionally, you're going to have a much better life, okay? We just don't want to be unconscious all the time, okay? So never let your emotions drive what you do. So your mind has to be stronger than your emotions, and you have to come back to, okay, what do I really want? And is this something that I actually want to do? Yes, it is. Okay, just come back to that. Because if we're driven by our emotions, we're just going to do it when we feel like it, which means we're interested and not committed. When you're interested, you do the work when it's easy and convenient and when you feel like it. But when you're committed, you do what it takes, no matter how you feel. You do what's required, okay? So you want to stack the odds in your favor. So what's your environment like? So if you're trying to be disciplined in your health and you want to start a healthy eating regime, I should say, and work out more often, let's say, to produce more energy and look and feel more confident, but you've got a house full of chocolate sweets and crisps and all that sort of stuff. Got to control the environment. And of course, we have that in our house, but the sweet tub that goes in for our nieces is covered, so I can't see it. So if you remove the visual cue, you put friction in the way. So all of those bad habits, if you want to watch less TV, if you remove the plug at the wall, so you have to get up to actually plug it in when you want to watch it, that can be enough friction to stop you watching more TV. So you pick up a book if you want to increase a reading habit or start a reading habit. So introduce friction to the habits that you want to break. And then the things that you want to start, make the visual cues easy. So if I want to read before I go to bed, I'm going to put a book on my bed before I go to bed. So when I get the visual cues there, I don't have to work too hard. So what you want to produce is an environment that's conducive to the behavior you want to adopt. Environment up, okay? Clean environment, clean and tidy. Get your house in order. Okay, that really helps. So when it comes to building discipline, start really small. I always used to bite off far more than I could chew, right? So, and then you get overwhelmed and stop. Okay, but that could be as small as, I'm not going to hit snooze in the morning. I'm going to get out of bed. And I'm going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to get out of bed. Okay, I'm going to get out of bed and I'm not going to hit snooze. And if you can do that for a week, you are casting a vote for the person that you wish to become. And you're building evidence that you're a disciplined person. Or it could be that when you wake up, you want to drink a glass of water or half a litre of water when you wake up. Okay, that's a discipline. So if you do that when you wake up and you drink your half a litre of water, you get a dopamine hit and you're building evidence that that's who you are becoming, a disciplined person. So if we start with the small disciplines on the micro, that transfers to the macro at a later stage. So it's amazing how this compounds, you know, just so you know, I mean, I'm not a disciplined person, naturally not a disciplined person. I'll sit around, I'll lay around, I like watching TV, I love watching Netflix. I'll sit there and do that all day long. But if it's scheduled, it gets done. I know what I want, I'm clear on that, and I'm clear on what I need to do in the day to get it done, no matter how I feel. But the part of me that's always trying to keep me safe and small, I say, thank you for your advice, but we're going to do this. Okay. And do all of this with good humor. This is not about beating yourself up. You want to enjoy this process. Like, how can I enjoy this more? You need to do some focused work for a side hustle. Put some music on you enjoy. Get an environment conducive to how you can enjoy it a little bit more. It doesn't all have to be hard. You make it more enjoyable, you repeat the behavior. Okay. So just stack the odds in your favor in your environment, basically. So clean your environment, get it right, get it more conducive to the behavior you want to adopt. And it helps to join a group, obviously, where the desired behavior is the norm. That helps shift identity quite quickly. So what I've noticed is that when you do this work works on you. And it's amazing how this process and cycle works, that the moment you start becoming more disciplined, it's like a feedback loop that just keeps on going. And it transfers out into areas of your life that even though you're just drinking a glass of water, you feel different because you're keeping a promise that you made to yourself. So it builds a lot of confidence very quickly. But just start small. Okay, do something for a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks. Just start it small. Okay, don't do too much too soon. You just want to build the identity. You're the person that shows up and does what you say you're going to do, because that's what society lacks. The values and virtues of discipline, courage, self-control, virtue, wisdom is gained through doing the right thing. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So just make sure that you pick something that's relevant to where you want to go, and you start small and you take it from there, and you start to eliminate all the other bits and pieces that come into your life that are just noise. Okay, we'll just reduce the noise. We want to separate the signal from the noise. So when you know what you want, you align it with your values, you know what you need to do each day, even just the direction of where you need to go, and you execute on that daily, and you start proving that you do what you say you're going to do, you will become a different person in 3 to 6 months. You'll look back and think, wow, look how far I've come. And that's what it's all about. The self-improvement journey, the hero's journey. This is warrior's work. And it's a beautiful journey of self-love, ultimately. So I hope that was useful. I'd love to get some comments and feedback. Again, if you need any other assistance, just drop us some comments on the post, and within the group if you're part of the community. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.